Hi guys, how you doing? So I watch a lot of Glenn Beck, right? And he has been doing a lot of um, just dropping a bunch of knowledge and truth on, his network. It's called Blaze TV, and just recently he reposted a letter that came from a Catholic Archbishop, um, Carlo Maria Vigano. I'm probably like butchering that, but it's all right. What's up, everybody? Okay. All right. But he read an open letter that this archbishop wrote to Trump, and it had a ton of warnings in it. And I don't know if people actually took the time to listen to it. I feel like we always need that moment to be grounded and remember what our battle is.
I want to read this.
We're fighting against a bunch of different things in our country right now. And I never thought I would see it. I'm actually shocked. I'm not shocked because if you're a Christian, I'm a Christian. Okay. I believe in the Bible. You know what's coming. It's inevitable. So I think it's nice to somewhat ground people and remind everybody there's only good and there's only evil. And that is what's happening right now. It is a spiritual and mental warfare. You heard earlier? Yeah. So I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to show you an episode where Glenn Beck exposes and breaks everything down. Exactly, Jessica. It is linked to the Great Reset. Glenn Beck is amazing. If you have not, please go subscribe to Blaze TV. It is like $10 a month. You get the truth. You get to hear from different independent journalists. Mark Levin is on there. Steven Crowder. There's a bunch of different awesome people on there. So I'm going to play this clip, and then I will play the entire episode of the Glenn Beck episode. It's about 48 minutes long. Everybody's going to want to watch it. Okay. It's really good. It's going to give you a little bit of homework to do to research and go deeper into these things because you need to prepare yourself. Let me play this. Let me know if this has audio because I probably forgot.
I want to read this letter, and I tried to edit it, and I couldn't. I'm going to try to get through as much of it as I possibly can because every American needs to hear this. This is from Archbishop Vigano. If I'm not mistaken, Vigano is the guy who has been saying the Vatican Bank and the ring of homosexual pedophile priests is not being uprooted. He's been trying to ring the bell that there is a deep state in the church that is evil. But I want you to hear what he is talking about because he is accurate. Now, he is couching this as good and evil, which I would as well. But what he's talking about politically is happening. Listen to this. An open letter to President Trump. Mr. President, allow me to address you at this hour in which fate of the whole world is being threatened by a global conspiracy against God and humanity. I write you as an archbishop, as the former apostolic nuncio of the United States of America. I'm writing you in the midst of the silence of both civil and religious authorities. May you accept these words of mine as a voice of one crying out in the desert. As I said, when I wrote my letter to you in June, this historic moment sees the forces of evil aligned in a battle without quarter against the forces of good, forces of evil that appear powerful and organized as they oppose the children of light, who are disoriented and disorganized, abandoned by their temporal and spiritual leaders. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Daily, we sense the attacks multiplying of those who want to destroy the very basis of society, the natural family, respect for human life, love of country, freedom of education, freedom of business. We see heads of nations and religious leaders pandering to this suicide of Western culture and its Christian soul, while the fundamental rights of the citizens and believers are denied in the name of a health emergency. that is revealing itself more and more as fully an instrument to the establishment of an inhuman, faceless tyranny. The global plan called The Great Reset is underway. This is my next book, and it is coming out. We're going to see how the election goes. We're close to finishing it, but if we can get it out before Christmas, we will. I don't know if we'll make that, but the Great Reset is real. This is not a conspiracy. It is real. Its architect, the Archbishop, or the Cardinal writes, is the global elite that wants to subdue all of humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of entire populations. In several nations, this plan has already been approved and and financed. In others, it's still in an early stage. Behind the world leaders who are the accomplices and executors of this infernal project, there are unscrupulous characters who finance the World Economic Forum and Event 201, promoting their agenda. If you watch my show, you know what the World Economic Forum and Event 201 did. If you don't, I urge you to go back and look at those shows. They're Wednesday night specials. Look at those shows and then do your own homework on them. All of the videotape of these meetings is out online. The purpose of the Great Reset is the imposition of a health dictatorship aiming at the imposition of liberticidal measures hidden behind tempting promises of ensuing a universal income and canceling individual debt. The price of these concessions from the International Monetary Fund will be the renunciation of private property and an adherence to a program of vaccination against COVID-19 and COVID-21 promoted by Bill Gates in collaboration with the main pharmaceutical groups. Beyond the enormous economic interests that motivate the promoters of this Great Reset, the imposition of the vaccination will be accompanied by the requirement of a health passport and a digital ID, with the consequent contact tracing of the population of the entire world. Those who do not accept these measures will be confined in detention camps or placed under house arrest, and all of their assets will be confiscated. Mr. President, I imagine you're already aware that in some countries, the Great Reset will be activated between the end of this year and the first trimester of 2021. For this purpose, further lockdowns are planned, which will officially be justified by a supposed second and third wave of the pandemic. You are also well aware of the means that have been deployed to sow panic and legitimize draconian limitations on individual liberties. They are artfully provoking a worldwide economic crisis. In the intention of its architects, this crisis will serve to make the recourse of nations to the Great Reset irreversible, thereby giving the final blow to a world whose existence and very memory they want to completely cancel. But this world, Mr. President, includes people, affections, institutions, faith, culture, traditions, and ideals. People and values that do not act like robots, do not obey like machines because they are endowed with a soul and a heart, because they are tied together by a spiritual bond that drives its strength from above, from that God that our adversaries want to challenge, just as Lucifer did at the beginning of time. Many people, as we all well know, are annoyed by this reference to the clash between good and evil and the use of apocalyptic overtones, which, according to them, exasperates the spirits and sharpens divisions. This is not surprising that the enemy, listen to this line, that the enemy is angered at being discovered just when he believes that he has reached the citadel he seeks to conquer undisturbed. What is surprising, however, is that there is no one to sound the alarm. The reaction of the deep state to those who denounce its plan is broken and incoherent and but understandable. Just when the complicity of the mainstream media has succeeded in making the transition to the New World Order almost painless and unnoticed, All sorts of deceptions, scandals, and crimes are now coming to light. A few months ago, it was easy to smear as conspiracy theorists those who denounce these terrible plans, which we now see being carried out down to the smallest detail. No one, up until last February, would have ever thought that in our cities, citizens would be arrested simply for wanting to walk down the street, to breathe, to want to keep their business open, to want to go to church on Sunday. Yet now it is happening all over the world, even in picture postcard Italy, that many Americans consider to be a small, enchanted country, with its ancient monuments, its churches and charming cities, its characteristic villages. And while the politicians are barricaded inside their palaces, giving out decrees like Persian satraps, businesses failing, shops are closing, and people are prevented from living, traveling, working, and praying. The disastrous psychological consequence of this operation are already being seen, beginning with the suicides of desperate entrepreneurs and of our children, segregated from friends and classmates, told to follow their classes while sitting at home alone in front of a computer. It is now clear that the one who occupies the chair of Peter, that's the Pope, has betrayed his role from the very beginning in order to defend and promote the globalist ideology, supporting the agenda of the deep church who chose him from his ranks. Mr. President, you have clearly stated you want to defend the nation, one nation under God, fundamental liberties, and non-negotiable values that are denied and fought against today. It is you, dear President, who are the one who opposes the deep state, the final assault of the children of darkness. For this reason, it is necessary that all people of goodwill be persuaded of the importance of the imminent election, not so much for the sake of this or that political program, but because of the general inspiration of your action that best embodies, in this particular historic context, that world, our world, which they want to cancel by means of lockdowns. Your adversary is also our adversary. It is the enemy of the human race, he who is the murderer from the beginning. Around you are gathered with faith and courage those who consider you the final garrison against the world dictatorship. The alternative is to vote for a person who is manipulated by the deep state, gravely compromised by scandals and corruption, who will do to the United States that which Jorge Bergoglio is doing to the church, the Prime Minister Conte to Italy, President Macron to France, Prime Minister Sanchez of Spain, and so on. The blackmailable nature of Joe Biden, just like that of the prelates of the Vatican's magic circle, will expose him to be used unscrupulously, allowing illegitimate powers to interfere in both domestic politics as well as international balances. It is obvious that those who manipulate him already have someone worse than him ready, with whom they will replace him as soon as the opportunity arises. In the midst of this bleak picture, the apparent unstoppable advance of the invisible enemy is an element of hope. The adversary does not know how to love. It does not understand that there is not enough to assure a universal income or cancel mortgages in the order to subjugate the masses and convince them to be branded like cattle. This people, which for so long have endured the abuses of a hateful and tyrannical power, is rediscovering that it does have a soul. It is understanding that it is not willing to exchange its freedom for the homogenization and cancelization of its identity. It's beginning to understand the value of familial and social ties and the bonds of faith and culture that unite all honest people. The Great Reset is destined to fail because those who planned it do not understand that there are still people ready to take to the streets to defend their rights, protect their loved ones, give a future to their children and grandchildren. The leveling inhumanity of the globalist project will shatter miserably in the face of firm and courageous opposition of the children of light. The enemy has Satan on his side, who only knows how to hate. But on our side, we have the Lord Almighty. Place your trust in the Lord, strengthened by the words of the Apostle Paul. I can do all things in him who strengthens me. To be an instrument of divine providence is a great responsibility, for which you, Mr. President, will certainly receive all the graces of state that you need, since they are being fervently implored for by many of the people who support you with their prayers. That is from the Archbishop Carlo Viango to the President of the United States, and it is very clear, and I echo his words.
People were asking who that was. That is Glenn Beck. Glenn Beck always brings the truth. I used to watch him back when he was on Fox News, and he had that 30-minute, not that hour segment where he actually put me on to George Soros and how he was going to go around and he was going around collapsing governments, their economy, and that he was coming for America. And I heard this back in 2009. And I'm looking at our country now, and all I can say is, wow. Told you so. But he talked about the Great Reset heavily. He is dope. I love him. He did a whole episode exposing not only the deep state, but world leaders. They have put this in our face in plain sight. This is not to scare people. This is not to get people worked up. This is to keep you informed. You need to stay informed. You need to be doing the research. You need to be out there being vigilant because, like I said earlier, it's a mental warfare and it's a spiritual warfare. We're in the age of information. Information is not hard to come by. Absolutely. Now I'm going to play this video. It's about 48 minutes long. It is a great episode. I guarantee you, you're going to sit and watch the whole thing. You're probably even going to take notes. I watched this and I took my notes. Every time I come on here before I do a show, like I'm telling you, I prepare for everything I do here. None of this is just because I'm bored or I feel like it or I want something to do. I care for my country. I love my country. Okay. I love the freedoms that we have. I love the American culture. I believe the American dream is still a thing and anybody can attain it. But I feel like self-image has been distorted. Everything is just any and everything goes. There's no order. There's no nothing. Everybody is just walking around doing whatever the hell they want. And you need to be grounded. It is time to come back to earth and realize there is only good and evil. And right now we're in a battle. Okay? So I hope everybody likes this episode. I'm also going to sit here and watch it as well, just because I loved it that much. If you haven't, like I said earlier, this is Blaze TV. All these episodes are on there. He does one every Wednesday. He has a live show, and there are other journalists on here as well. It's actually only $10 a month. Just saying. You probably pay $10 a month with Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all these other apps you have probably cost $10 even more. So spend the money on this. It's actually needed in this time with everybody. You know, we can't trust our media to tell us the truth. It's unfortunate.
The World Economic Forum this year wants to have the Great Reset.
The team over at Jefferies talking about the Great Reset.
I think it's a conspiracy theory that is spread and used by the alt-right.
I've been warning you about the Great Reset, this supposed conspiracy, for months now. Tonight's show is a warning. So now the Economic Forum is talking about the Great Reset. They make it quite clear that their aim is to, quote, catalyze a public-private momentum in 2020. The global plan called the Great Reset is underway. So how do you know it's not some Glenn Beck conspiracy? Just listen to them in their own freaking words.
Now is the historical moments of time.
It's coming, America, in a scheme so well coordinated that you won't realize it's coming until it's already here. Tonight, I'll show you how the left plans to use COVID-19 to reset everything you know about capitalism, about our nation, about freedom. Tonight, the truth about the Great Reset conspiracy. Hello, America. We have been told by the left that climate change is their World War II. I'm telling you, by the end of this hour, you will see World War II, or our generation's World War II, what could end up being World War III, right on the near horizon. And it's going to start with crisis, panic, urgent. We have to act now and quickly. That's the way it always begins. Gee, what will us dummies do? Well, it's a good thing that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats have big plans. So big, in fact, that Schumer wants to go ahead and rush the Senate to confirm Joe Biden's cabinet picks before he's even officially called the president-elect, or, the old-fashioned way, let him be inaugurated first. Watch.
In the midst of this once-in-a-century crisis, it's imperative the next administration can count on the Senate to confirm its cabinet without delay. So hearings on President-elect Biden's nominee should begin in January, immediately after the Georgia runoff elections.
Once-in-a-century crisis. Gosh, why are they so rushed? Well, it's a crisis. And it's almost as if they've been revving us all up and putting us on war footing for something really big. And I mean big. Why would they be rushing through Biden's cabinet picks before the vote is even certified? Are they worried that maybe some of the people in the cabinet might clue all of us into what they have planned? I think so. I'm going to take a wild guess and say, yeah, damn right they are. So what is that plan? Well, tonight I will lay it out for you. A Joe Biden administration will pursue a radical restructuring of the entire world, the way you live your life. It's called the Great Reset. Capitalism will morph into something that resembles less of a free market and more akin to, it's been played before. It's National Socialism, crony capitalism. It's best being demonstrated today in China. It's Chinese capitalism. There's no real freedom there. It's all under the control of the Communist Party. They're calling it shareholder capitalism, but it has nothing to do with the market. I'll explain on tonight's program. This plan involves using the coronavirus and climate change as the disasters that force us into a great global reset. Biden's cabinet picks are already signaling that they are fully on board, and I will prove that to you tonight with their words and them on videotape talking about it. I warned you a few months ago about the Great Reset, and the mainstream media, you'll never guess what they did. They called me a conspiracy theorist to isolate me even more. I don't think it's working. I should be used to it by now. Remember all my wild conspiracies like 9/11 that I said would happen in New York City? That was in 1999. The 2008 financial crisis conspiracy theory, I was talking about that in 2006. Or how about the caliphate that will never happen? Oh, wait, it did. As a conspiracy theorist, I really suck because they seem to happen. This write-up from the New York Times was one of my favorites. Quote, a baseless conspiracy theory about the coronavirus has found new life as cases surge once again. Wow, it's baseless. Now, you'd expect to read the article and get a full rebuttal on the points that I laid out on my show. It took me an hour. You don't have 20 minutes. You could write something down and say, hey, he has this part wrong, this part wrong. No, In that article, not one time did the New York Times address any of our concerns. Not once. All they did was attack anyone that was raising warnings. That's how the mainstream media works. This is how it carries water for the things that they want you distanced from. They attack people. They don't talk about ideas. Speaking of carrying water, while the Times writes hit pieces on people speaking out on the Great Reset, guess who's actively sitting on panels over at the World Economic Forum? Yes, that's right. Journalists from the New York Times. We're going to come back to this specific panel a little later on the program. You don't want to miss it. How could they call it a conspiracy theory if he's on the panel? I want to show you now how the left and the media plan to pull wool over your eyes in the coming weeks and months. Everything they're going to do has to remain undercover, or at least be discredited as some sort of conspiracy theory, because we are on the doorstep of this. But if America wakes up and they stand up against this, there is still time to stop it. But it is close. They'll begin by twisting the entire thing into some whacked out theory akin to, we got fluoride in our water and it's turning the frogs gay. Yeah. Well, we're going to see this spooky word cabal a few million times. Oh, and look, here it is. I can show it to you in the New York Times. Oh, and there it is in the Daily Beast and CapX. Oh, let's check the BBC. Oh, yeah, there it is. Cabal. Let's stick with the BBC article here for a second, because it is a perfect example of what you're going to see as we start exposing what Joe Biden and global elites are planning to do. Check this out. Quote, the baseless, again, conspiracy theory known as the Great Reset, which claims a group of world leaders orchestrated the pandemic to take control of the global economy. Now that sounds pretty nuts. And it would be if that was anything like what we said. But that's not what we said. We never said the World Economic Forum orchestrated the pandemic. They were waiting for the right thing to happen so they could rush in and save it. We pointed out in our own words, they were planning on taking advantage of it. They did not create it. All the media has to do is simply go to the World Economic Forum's Great Reset webpage, God forbid, read for yourself. Or have you done that and you know, and you're just lying to the American people? On their website, they clearly spell out how they plan to use COVID to kick off fundamental changes to society and capitalism, aka the Great Reset, which is theirs. I showed you their academic papers that they've already begun to publish. Everything is there in black and white. We know the media obviously doesn't like to research and read. So why don't we just listen? There's the head of the World Economic Forum. His name is Klaus Schwab.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system for the need for the post-corona era. But we have another choice. We can build a new social contract. In short, we need a great reset.
So I'm going to agree, actually, with the Times. They call us conspiracy theorists for saying this, and I want to agree that it would be a conspiracy if that's what we were saying. But this is no conspiracy, because they're not really hiding it. It's out fully open in the public. Those aren't my words. Those are his words. He's saying those things at the World Economic Forum. They're not trying to hide it. Just politicians and the media. Now, isn't that odd? The ideologues are shouting it from the mountaintops, while the ones who want to profit off of the advantages are keeping it quiet. It's no wonder why you read through their documents that you see something entirely different than what the New York Times is telling you. It's insane. If you didn't see my last show on the Great Reset, I urge you to watch. This is happening. Shareholder capitalism, National Socialism, Chinese capitalism, whatever you want to call it. It's on a global scale, and it's what they're after. This entire article, written by the World Economic Forum back in 2016, quote, "Welcome to the year 2030. Welcome to my city," or should I say, our city. Remember, individuals will not exist. It's only the collective. It goes on. "I don't own anything. I don't own a car. I don't own a house. I don't own any appliances or any clothes." Yeah, there will be no private property, they hope, they say, by 2030. Is that you, Karl Marx? The media is calling us crazy for being concerned about this. Now, this might work in some countries where you've never had private property, but we are a country that is based on individuals, individual freedom, and the entrepreneurial spirit of, I want to build something myself. Now, surely that article was from 4 years ago, so they don't still believe that communist bullcrap, do they? Well, let's look at something more current. Here's a video from a couple of months ago. Watch. It's an end of all private property. Now, you could say that they are just saying that because that's the way the world is going. Yes, it is. But there have been deep, deep thinkers that have written article after article about what does that mean to Americans? How will that change the fundamental principles of America? We may indeed go that way because it's easier, but that's not what this is. This is a shove into that system without allowing you the opportunity to talk about what does that mean. You'll rent everything. You'll own nothing. Will you be happy? I don't know. Sounds like when Grandpa used to say, you know, and I used to walk up the hill in the snow both ways to school, and I had wooden legs and only half my fingers, and we liked it. No, you didn't, Grandpa. And none of us are going to have to, like zero possessions, renting everything from some big amalgamated corporate/government overlord and entity. Let me go back to that BBC article, that hit piece, calling all of this a conspiracy. Quote, "So too is the notion that the World Economic Forum has the authority to tell other countries what to do, or that it's coordinating a secret cabal of world leaders." Okay, BBC. That's not what we said. I'm not going to even attempt to prove that they're just going to take over the world. That's not the plan. But if I could prove that influential leaders are working in concert with the World Economic Forum and the UN, and many of your leaders are there, and our leaders are there, and giant corporations are involved, will the BBC and the other outlets retract this angle of attack? Even bigger, I wonder what you would say if I could prove that very top members of Joe Biden's cabinet are actually part of this, not just like selling it. They believe in it. They're knee deep or neck deep in it. Now, could I prove that? This morning, when I was on radio, forgetting how much the world has changed already, I promised that this show would be up in full on YouTube and Facebook. Then we met with our attorneys and all of the people that are working literally their whole day, trying to carve out a way to where we can communicate with you on social media. This message is for you right now. If you've been watching me talk about the warnings of this, facts don't matter anymore. Do these companies, for instance, let me ask you this. Bring this up on the screen, will you? This is something that I saw a listener on Instagram post. Free videos, free minds, PragerU. PragerU. It's not controversial. Oh, it is now. Before you like this page, when you like a page, you'll get updates from your newsfeed. You might want to review PragerU to see the types of content it usually shares. Are you sure that you want to like it? Because you might be tracked now if you are put into a list of people that are crazy enough to like that. PragerU, if I went to the Daily Beast online and I wanted to like their page, would it tell me that the Daily Beast, you might want to review the types of content? No. A show note. Any posts that we have put up, any videos, even just videos of me playing a clip of a press conference with no opinion, or interviewing someone while even pushing back, interviewing somebody who's saying, yeah, there's massive fraud. Well, can you show me the evidence of it? Any of those videos are being suppressed. I myself being suppressed, and the Blaze.com, Blaze TV. We are losing our connection to you, the people who want our information and have liked our page, because facts no longer matter. Questioning will not happen. You just must do. As I will show you from the words of one of the most important guys in the next Biden administration or cabinet, they are isolating and destroying anyone who stands in the way of this. I will show you the quote in his own words. It's hair-raising. But because facts don't matter, and dare I believe that I didn't say anything too crazy for Facebook or YouTube that people just can't handle, we're going to continue the rest of this show exclusively on Blaze TV. And we're going to do it because, quite honestly, we can no longer afford to have our voice isolated any more than they have isolated it in the last 4 weeks. We need to reach our audience at least for a limited matter of time. I've told you in the past few months that voices like mine, like Steven Crowder, Mark Levin, Dave Rubin, they will be silenced. That time is now. And the new administration hasn't even started yet. Please find us and join us and subscribe to Blaze TV. Use the promo code Glenn and you will save $30. We need you to know this information and spread it in your circle of influence, because our circle of influence is being diminished now intentionally. Anyone who will stand up is going to be a target. Are you willing to stand up for freedom, the truth, and facts? I want you to really think about that. And if you still say yes, join me in 60 seconds on Blaze TV, and I will prove these things to you in their own words. Okay. One of the reasons why this is so important is because the value of your dollar is going to drop, and it's going to drop quickly and profoundly. You can't bring the rest of the world up to American standards, so you got to bring the rest of the world, or you have to bring America down to the rest of the world. Your dollar is going to lose about 30%, I believe, in the next year. When that happens, you buy stuff at Walmart, that's coming from China. You'll have 70 cents. On that dollar, it will only be worth 70 cents of buying power. That's going to happen, and it's going to get worse. That's why we'll all need the Great Reset. And so many businesses will be out of business that there's no jobs for anyone. So you need this. God help us all. Please, I want you to call Goldline right now. Protect some of your money. Right now, you'll notice, one of my financial advisors said the other day, Glenn, gold is crazy. I said, really? Why? Look at this chart. Over 200 years, it's basically flat. Oh, that's why I'm buying it. Because while everything else does this, I know this doesn't move. I can always count on it. Gold from Goldline. Call them up right now. They're offering up to 6% in free promotional medals for qualifying retirement account purchases right now. Call. It's not too late. 866-GOLDLINE. 866-GOLDLINE or goldline.com. Thank you for watching this program. I showed you earlier that the media is trying to say that the World Economic Forum doesn't hold any real power to get any of this done. And just that statement is actually true. They don't. But it admits one key point. Literally every political and economic leader in the world is now working with them on this project. I'm not exaggerating. They are all on board. The WEF, the World Economic Forum, is an organization. It doesn't have any power, but the leaders that attend their meetings do. This article was written by the WEF just a few months ago. Now, how in the world can we get a reset? How will the world reset itself after COVID-19? Well, it includes remarks by the chief economist at the International Monetary Fund. Gee, I wonder, does the IMF wield any power, especially at the banking and corporate levels? Remember Joe Biden's campaign line, "Build Back Better"? I heard that and I thought, who says that? Who says that? It's like, me read good. Build Back Better? Well, it was unique. And then we looked into it and went, oh, it's actually not unique. Build Back Better is starting to pop up by world leaders all over the world. Don't believe me? Here's Boris Johnson in the UK. Look behind him.
So today, I want to set out how this government will offer a lifetime skills guarantee to help people train and retrain at any stage in their lives and enable us not just to come through this crisis, but to come back stronger and build back better.
Build back better. Here's the European Commission. They used the same phrase when announcing their coronavirus stimulus fund. Oh, and there's Justin Trudeau in Canada.
But this global pandemic has also created an opportunity to build back better.
Okay, so who's plagiarizing here? Well, it turns out all of them are. Because they weren't the ones that came up with Build Back Better. It's actually been around for a while. The UN, and guess who? The World Economic Forum came up with that. You see, when they were rebuilding parts of Asia after big tragedies, they said, it's almost like this Build Back Better doesn't sound like it was, sounds like it was translated and it just is clunky, right? Because it was. And the World Economic Forum and the UN decided there's a tragedy here, so we must build back better. And we have to reinvent capitalism. We have to make sure that we have a chance now that everything's been destroyed to build it the right way without the people involved. Joe Biden's campaign slogan was a UN and World Economic Forum propaganda line for restructuring society and ending capitalism as you know it. Don't believe me? Look it up. Joe Biden is no ideologue. He is not a crony capitalist stooge that makes millions, of dollars from his elected office and funnel them through his children. No. Wait, no, he is. Wow, that's weird because that's something that the left used to claim they hated. How times have changed. But who's directing this ship? Are there any ties to the Great Reset? Well, let's go back to the WEF panel that the New York Times sat on. There is the New York Times reporter. There's the WEF people. Do we have the picture of it? And the president of the European Commission. Where's the picture? There's John Kerry. I like that one. John Kerry, Distinguished Fellow for Global Affairs, Yale University. That's weird. Also known now as Joe Biden's new climate czar, who will also sit on the National Security Council, it turns out. Kerry has been attending Great Reset forums at the World Economic Forum for months. He recently made this statement, quote, "This is a big moment. The World Economic Forum is really going to have to play a front and center role in refining the Great Reset to deal with climate change and inequality. Or inequity, I'm sorry, not inequality, inequity, all of which is being laid bare as a consequence of COVID-19. But what about policy? I mean, are Biden and Kerry really planning to implement any of this? Well, I want you to listen to these comments he just gave just a few days ago at the World Economic Forum. Listen.
Are we expecting too much too soon from the new president, or is it going to deliver first day on these topics?
The answer to your question is no, you're not expecting too much. And yes, it will happen. And I think it will happen with greater speed and with greater intensity than a lot of people might imagine. In effect, the citizens of the United States have just done a great reset. We've done a great reset. And it was a record level of voting. What astounds me is that as many people still voted for the level of chaos and breach of law and order and breaking the standards. And I mean, you can run a long list and still it attracted attention. And I think that the underlying reason for that, Borger, is something that everybody has to examine. I think Europe has to look at that with Brexit and the rising nationalistic populism.
Okay, there's a couple things there
which is really one of the priorities.
There's a couple of things he said there that are really important. We have to look at national populism. In other words, people who love their country. Brexit, those people, they're a problem. Why are 70 million people for the very first time said to be, well, we really need to make a list. We might have to re-educate them. We have to isolate them from society. Why did the corporations, the media, the social media, and the Democrats, and the globe, why were they so against Donald Trump? Because he wouldn't have done this. That stands in their way. And quite frankly, so do you. He just also said the Great Reset will happen. And not only that, but with greater intensity in a Biden administration. Wait a minute. Hold on just a second. I thought it was a conspiracy. Remember what we're talking about here. Crony capitalism, Chinese capitalism, control and complete readjustment of the social and economic fabric. That's what this is all about. If you voted for Biden just because you thought Donald Trump was a big fat meanie, well, this is about what you're going to get. John Kerry has been an ideologue for this for well over a decade. In 2015, when he was Obama's Secretary of State, he pushed the United States to implement the UN Sustainable Development Goals. That's part of this, otherwise known as Agenda 21-2030. Okay? We know it as now the Great Reset. All of this is tied together. You really want to understand, how can Nike and the NBA, they throw America and their white audience completely under the bus. They drive their constituents away. Nobody's watching it. Nobody's buying Nike stuff. I mean, they've hurt half of their audience. They want China that bad? Is China really the goal? No, it's not America or China. The real choice is, do you want America or do you want China, the rest of the world, and America? Because if you want to do that, we can help you with something called shareholder capitalism. When you understand what really is at stake, you understand, why would these companies do these things? It seems short-sighted. It seems like it would put them out of business. No, they're playing a new game, and we haven't even been told about it. But how in the world could Joe Biden and John Kerry impose the Great Reset under our system? We're protected, right? Private businesses could ultimately give them the middle finger, right? Well, The big corporations seem to be in on it and happy with it. And they're doing something now to small businesses, aren't they? They're killing them. But even if they didn't do this, we found this article written last year. Its premise is how corporations can pick up the slack by themselves if the government decides to resist. Check this quote out from John Kerry. Quote, "We need to create political accountability. We are building an army of experts from the United States and abroad. We will isolate those who don't support our action." Well, jawohl. Sounds kind of ominous if you're a business owner or you believe in freedom or you don't want to go along with this because I'm an individual. I don't believe in collectivism. How exactly will they isolate you? Well, they're already doing it. You're already a Trump supporter or a freak or a conspiracy theorist, but they're going to do it by executive order. This is a list of 10 executive orders that Biden has said he will take on day one. They're all nuts. But I want you to look down to number 8. Quote, "Require public companies to disclose climate risks and greenhouse gas emissions in their operations and supply chains." Now, how in the hell would they, they're going to require companies to follow this rule? I don't even understand. Who's going to verify what? I warned you about this on my last show on the Great Reset. It's now proposed as one of the top 10 executive orders that will happen on day one. Believe me now? Or are we going to have to wait until he actually imposes it? In 2015, the UN created the Task Force on Climate-Related Financial Disclosures, TCFD. This is how they're going to do it. They're part of a UN environment program and a finance initiative whose goal is to press Agenda 2030 on the banking and corporate sectors. The TCFD produces reports to companies, and banks give, their crazy metrics on how at risk their companies are because of climate change. Page 19 of the Great Reset, first published report, outlines how the UN soon will be weaponized to govern private businesses. You see, they plan to do it by integrating the TCFD into our government. I kid you not. The TCFD, it's so wonky. I'm so bored. Isn't there anything else we could watch? You better watch this now. Just being an organization that provides data, it will move into becoming a government auditor on businesses that, quote, requires assessments and disclosure of potential financial impacts, disclosures that are made in audited, in other words, public annual financial filings under the laws of the jurisdictions in which they operate, subject to the rigorous governance process. Oh, I like that. Business owners will not have a choice. I can guarantee you, if this stuff goes through in a year, maybe 2, let's be crazy, in 2 years, they're going to blame us for the death of the rainforest at the blaze. Somehow or another, we killed the rainforest. So can they put me out of business? Well, let me just mention this little quote. Quote, "Insurance premium increases due to settlements from pollution." So you see where this is going? Fail to comply, lose your insurance. Lose your insurance, lose your license and your business. They're going to do this with guns and everything else. To reiterate, none of these are my words. I'm not drawing conclusions. I'm showing you the text. It's all directly from the horse's mouth, in their own reports, in their own broken German English, in their interviews. And Joe Biden has already said what his first executive orders will be. John Kerry as the climate czar sounds trivial, but under the Great Reset, something he has studied for a decade, he might just end up being the most powerful person in Biden's cabinet. Crony capitalism, the destruction of American society, the government merging into business, while the rest of us are all equalized in subservience and silenced by something the government can't do, because the Constitution, just as the government can't silence you, but these corporations can. Welcome to the modern America left. You know, I was watching an old episode.
Yo, it gets worse. I'm telling you.
Yeah, this is nuts. Straight up.
There's about 10 minutes left. If you haven't shared this, please get it out, share it, because a lot of people need to know this information. It gets worse. I sat glued in front of my TV screen for the entire 50 minutes. I didn't move.
Come back.
Which they had to scare. I remember that. We were supposed to get an Ice Age. Never happened. That's why I don't understand why people fall for this same shit. Like, I remember they pushed Y2K when I was younger. Oh, the internet's going to go out and everybody's just going to be in a dark age.
Yeah. I remember that too. Nothing happened. Just like all this stuff. Like, come on, man. Ice Age is global warming. Now it's global warming. Used to be you're going to be in an ice age. Now everything's melting. Going to be on fire.
Don't. Just stay in prayer. This is preparing you for what's coming. So nobody should be scared at this point because you already know.
At all.
No,
I'm good. Because I was looking up stuff about this Nashville bombing. We'll talk about that on the next show. But I got some stuff.
He should be done with this promo. He's not.
It's a long promo.
See, you remember Y2K? Girl, I was in church. My mama had
Walls
me
of
in there
Jericho.
praying.
Y2K ended up being Chris Jericho. Y2J.
All right, here we go.
Have a power and the voice. It's way past time we put an end to the era of shareholder capitalism. The idea the only responsibility a corporation has is its shareholders.
Okay. I misspoke earlier. This is why I should, write these things down. I've been saying they were calling it shareholder capitalism in the World Economic Forum. No. That's what they're going to end. They're calling it stakeholder capitalism. And Justin Haskins is with us. He is the editorial director of the Heartland Institute and editor-in-chief of StoppingSocialism.com. And really somebody, he's a co-author with the book that is coming out, I think in January, if we can get it done, called The Great Reset. We've been following this for quite some time, and it's really disturbing. Stakeholder capitalism, isn't that the Chinese capitalism, communist capitalism system?
I mean, I think it's pretty close to it. Essentially, what stakeholder capitalism, when the World Economic Forum is talking about that, it means collectivist. That's what it means. It means collectivist capitalism. It's an oxymoron. What it really means is that elites, whether that's in America or at the World Economic Forum, internationally at the United Nations, they're going to decide what's in the best interest of the collective, and they're going to force businesses, they might be technically private businesses, to act in ways that are in line with leftist thinking. And so that's how they get away with this idea of stakeholder capitalism. What they mean by that is the elites are going to control the economy, which is exactly what's going on in China.
And you're not, Oskar Schindler owned his own business in World War II. He owned it. But if you remember, the Nazis were telling him exactly what to make, when to make, how much to make, and what to sell it at. That's this thing. And the average person is no longer going to be able to, like me, grow up poor, create my own business, run it the way I want to run it, and succeed. You can't do that unless you decide to take the blue pill and you just stay asleep and do exactly what they say. Correct?
That's exactly right. It's a 21st century version of fascism. They don't need jackboot stormtroopers. All they need is elaborate regulatory schemes, the endless printing of money, and they can control virtually all of society through these new systems that they're building. That's what the Great Reset is all about.
And when you understand this, truly understand, people say to me, why would George Soros want to end capitalism? He's a capitalist, made a lot of money. Why would he want to destroy the dollar? Well, because if you're the one in the driver's seat, you're going to make money. If you know what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, if you can then control companies, for instance, tell me where I'm wrong on this, Justin. Let's say you run a company and you come to a meeting and all the biggest bankers are there. John Kerry is there, all these world leaders, and they say, look, you know, and I know the system can't run the way it is. It's overextended. The dollar is going to crash. It's going to be horrible. We have a plan, but we need your help. We are going to base it on equity and all these wonderful things. And we're calling it stakeholder capitalism. And yes, it will cost you more in taxes, et cetera, but you keep your company. If you don't sign on, we're going to isolate you, or they don't even have to say that. The dollar is going to collapse and it's going to be pandemonium. Of course you sign up. If Hitler would have come to you and said, hey, I want to take over your factory, you'll still own it. Most people would say, okay, right?
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. And it goes even deeper than that. They're not just saying, hey, if you don't do what we tell you, then we're going to destroy you. I mean, they are kind of saying that in a way, but they're also saying we're going to make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. And we're going to drive all your competitors out of business who are not as woke as you are. If you do what we tell you to do, we'll take care of you. You don't have to worry about it. The government's going to make sure that you are okay. And that is exactly what's been going on. The government's been bailing out these massive, gigantic corporations for years and years and years now. They're always doing fine. It's regular people who end up getting screwed.
So isn't this really a throwback almost to the feudal system, where the king had to please the lords and the ladies? They owned everything, and the people just worked to produce, and they didn't have any say in anything.
I think that this trend, that this theme has existed throughout the entire course of human civilization. Yes. The elite ruling class folks, whether those are kings and queens and lords or emperors or whoever they are, or they're just people at the World Economic Forum, believe that they should be in charge for whatever reason, because God appointed them, or because they are gods, or because they're the smartest people in the room. And what they want to do is find a way to consolidate that power and then to use it to rule over the world. I mean, it sounds crazy, but that's really what they're trying to do here.
All right, I have to take a break, but I want to come back and I want to show the audience another member of the cabinet that is, you would think the stock market would crash after the statements this person has made, but it didn't. And now you know why. I'll show you the statement in 60 seconds.
We will find collective purpose to control the pandemic and build our economy back better than before, to rebuild our infrastructure and create better jobs, to invest in our workforce, to advance racial equity and make sure the economic recovery includes everyone, to address the climate crisis.
Wow, that is your Treasury Secretary. That seems like not her job, but this is the way it all happens, through money. Notice she used the word equity, climate change, and build back better. Justin, as you're looking at this, what does this actually mean to the average person?
Right. Well, what it means is that the elites are consolidating power, and they're using the Treasury, and they're going to use the Federal Reserve Bank system. And if they have it their way, they're going to reform the Federal Reserve Bank system, make it even easier to do this, to control everything. Okay, I mean, that's really where this is all heading. I mean, it's all about modern monetary theory, the idea that you can just print essentially endless amounts of money, that debts and deficits don't matter. This concept that Stephanie Kelton and Bernie Sanders and other people have been supporting for many, many years. The entire Democratic Party and many people even in the Republican Party have bought into this. We are already engaged in modern monetary theory in the United States. And the normalization of this is allowing elites to control everything. And that's what Janet Yellen is talking about there.
Explain what modern monetary theory is briefly, basically on the impact to the average person.
Right. Well, essentially what modern monetary theorists believe is that if you control your own currency, you can print as much money as you possibly need, the government can, and then use it in any way that the government sees fit, so long as there's not inflation. And if inflation exists, then they'll just enact government regulations that control the economy, and they'll try to kill the inflation that way.
Right.
This will be absolutely disastrous for regular people for a whole variety of reasons. But one of the biggest, of course, is that in the long run, they're not going to be able to stop inflation. And all of the money that you have, all of the wealth that you've spent your entire life building up is going to disappear. And you're going to become absolutely 100% dependent on government to pay you money. And there are already people talking about creating Federal Reserve bank accounts and giving them to everybody in the United States so that people have Fed bank accounts, and then they can helicopter drop money into these bank accounts whenever there's an economic crisis. Can you imagine what this would look like if we actually did this?
Well, if you did that, a lot of people would say, oh, great, I get free money in my bank account. They can also remove it if you don't play ball. You do not want to be on the taking end of this. Let me just give you, Justin, thank you so much for being on. I hope to have you on either tomorrow or the next day on radio, because we have to talk some more about this. But let me just end this segment with this, a quote again from John Kerry. We need to create political accountability. We're building an army of experts from the United States and abroad. We will isolate those who do not support this action. I told you at the beginning of this program that by the end, you would understand this is our World War II or possibly World War III. It is real. It is going to be a real fight, and a lot of people will be silenced because they stand against it. We have to join together. Thank you for joining us at blazetv.com.
What did you guys think about that? This, like, I can't stress how important it is for everyone to come together. I think I've been saying this. I watched this a month ago, and when I watched it, I started to tell everybody, you need to follow your favorite independent journalists, and you need to share the shit out of their information. Number one, we're being censored, but you can counter that. When you share it and you put it out there, there's no way to stop it. Okay? But we're here. Okay? The fight is here. It's just not in the form that everyone thought it would come in. I was one of those people that thought there would be war. But that it's just not reality. We're in an information war. Okay? The left in the mainstream media lies about literally everything. You cannot trust anything that's said on there. Like this whole Nashville thing, and we're going to talk about it on Cash's show. This whole Nashville thing, there's like 40 different theories out there. And people, I don't even want to say this. A lot of people aren't that intelligent. It's just, it is what it is in America. They don't have that intelligence there to be like, oh, that's a lie. Let me go ahead and toss this out.
Yep, the war's for your mind, and you got to fight the war with your mind. Because if you notice, it ain't really been violent. You had a couple things that happened with, like, you know, BLM and then Antifa and stuff like that, but nothing really devastating. You know what I'm saying? So it's really a fight for your mind. Think about it. The people that were fighting on the other side was because of misinformation that they tricked your mind. That's the whole reason why protests and riots and stuff was happening. It was a trick that was played on your mind. They got you to believe in a narrative that was not true. You know what I'm saying? That's how it's going to be fought. That's a fact. And then when you go into this whole Nashville thing, it's another thing that's information and lack of information. And when you see, there's a lot of stuff behind that. Why exactly they picked that particular location? Man, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a whole lot. We're going to talk about it later.
Okay. Well, I have got to get ready for Primetime Patriots, and then I'll be on Cash's show. We're going to try to get all this information out. I want people to prepare. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all I can say. Thanks for tuning in. This was fun. If you haven't, please go buy Blaze TV. It's not free. You have to pay $10 a month. You can do the yearly thing. I didn't do the yearly thing. I just don't like it. I don't like parting with that much money all at once. Are you like that too?
Yeah, I am. What's it called? I was going to tell you guys though, if you haven't already, please go over to Hot Mic on YouTube, like the page. All right, subscribe to the page, ring the bell icon. Let's help her get to 1,000 subscribers, you guys. I need your help to do that. So if you could, please share this out from YouTube. Get everybody to go and subscribe to Suni's page because she'll be working hard. All right, she'll be working hard, and we need the subscribers to go up over there. All right, appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. You have a great evening. I'll see you all over the place today.